Or good killer or bad killer? That seems to be the way some people are choosing to divide this story. Luigi Mangione, the suspected killer of the CEO American insurer United Healthcare boss Brian Thompson, has disturbingly created a sort of bit of an image and a name for himself in some quarters. There's images of his shirtless body, allowing some and meaning others have drooled over his looks, calling him an anti-capitalist hero. So why is this the case for some criminals, that there is a certain level of attractiveness to them? Ted Bundy would be an obvious example. According to Stephen Mitchard, the co-author of Ted Bundy, Conversations with a Killer, Bundy received countless letters containing marriage proposals and pictures, some of them nudes, etc. This was a man that was put on trial in '79, remember, for the rape and murder of over 30 young women. But there is a strange, curious, perverse attraction. Let's speak to psychology professor at the Illinois Wesleyan University, Professor Amanda Vickary, on why this happens. Amanda, good afternoon to you. Nice to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
I'm guessing this was not news to you when you saw this kind of almost side story to this, where, you know, a terrible killing takes place in broad daylight. A guy on the street is gunned down. This man, the alleged killer, we have to say, of course, becomes the anti-hero. Now, some, I suppose, are looking at this as an anti-capitalist thing by nature of the victim here. And others are just saying, you know, this guy is hot. I mean, you'd think by definition of what's going on here, nobody would be drawing those conclusions. But every time they do, or some do.
You're right. The minute they showed the picture of him from the hostel without his mask on, and you could tell that it looked like he might be an attractive guy, I knew it was coming. My friends and family started texting me, and then once, you know, the images of him, his mugshot and his social media started coming out, it's just been all over. And you're right, this isn't the first time that a criminal will have received this sort of attention, and it's certainly not the last. And it helps in his case that he is objectively a decent looking guy.
Yeah, and by all accounts educated and, you know, from good stock, etc. Do you sense, though, I mean, clearly there are some people politically, I know there's a big debate in the US, to a lesser extent there's one over here about, you know, healthcare and insurance companies and, you know, the curious nature of these businesses and how they operate, etc. So there will be some people who will see this man as a hero. You know, he fought the battle against this almost corrupt criminal cartel of industries that have gotten away with it for years. It's $1 trillion enterprise, and one less of them is a good thing for the gene pool. That's how some people will see this, and it will be political how they view it. For others, it's something else. I alluded to earlier when we were talking about this, Amanda, about the you know, the death row dating scene. You know, we mentioned Ted Bundy there in the intro. What is the attraction, mostly, you know, some women have to someone who has carried out, in the case of Bundy, I mean, the most extraordinary, disturbing set of crimes at 30 with 30 young women victims? You'd think nobody would go near somebody like that, but for some reason there is an attraction. Why?
You are absolutely right. And I've been interviewing women who write to inmates and fall in love and marrying them for almost a decade now. And some of the stereotypes are true. You hear people say, oh, they're suffering from low self-esteem, or they've had, you know, a difficult upbringing that has sort of led them down this path. But for the most part, the majority of women I've spoken to come across as pretty normal, intelligent, everyday people who have sort of fallen into this situation. They didn't always necessarily begin writing or contacting the Scott Peterson or Chris Watts or Ted Bundys of the world because they were in love with them, but more they were curious, or they wanted to reach out as a show of religious support or something. And then as the emails or the letters continued, they developed these bonds and these feelings. And then the case of Luigi is completely sort of a different story, in the sense of he's not a violent murderer and rapist of young women, but as you said, almost this criminal hero. So
Yeah.
you have that element to it that I think is probably bringing out a different subset of women that would never usually be attracted to a killer per se.
Yeah, indeed. I wonder, you know, often when we talk about domestic violence, there is the line that we hear, you will be familiar with, some women, you know, I wanted to be the one that changed him, etc. There's that kind of answer often comes through. I wonder whether this, though, is more of a narcissistic thing where an individual, a female in this case, thinks they can get to the part of that human that no other human could get to. They can tap in to that area, and their incredible personality, presence, looks, whatever it happens to be, will be the driving factor to all of that. Do you think that's going on as well?
Sure, and the fame and the notoriety and all that he is receiving, it's similar to why we fall in love with famous actors or actresses. And evolutionary psychologists would say it's because back in our hunter-gatherer past, we were attracted to people who had resources and status that could provide they could give us food and protect us from predators. And the idea is that is still sort of with us today, even if we're not conscious of it. So the idea that this person is famous for doing some sort of aggressive act shows that they can protect me, they can provide, they have access to resources and things like that. And that may be what is operating on an unconscious level for some of these people as well.
Yeah, I sense you are spot on. Listen, Amanda, we could talk for a lot longer. I hope we speak again as well. Dr. Amanda Vickary, psychology professor, Illinois Wesleyan University.